need to soak the blade in water. So it's just not going to come out now, which is really good. So this is a piece of timber that I've been working on during this symposium, and it's really just to show some cutting technique, and also I wanted to leave something behind that people can look at, because you can see all of the strikes that were done and how often they were done. But not only that, you can see how the stone's very fine edge is over striking it, has slowly pitted away, and it's a little bit jagged, and that's what happens in the cuts. And it's really important to be able to identify those, because depending on what sort of profession you go into, you can look at old carved material and you'll be able to see these in it, and you can identify whether it's done with metal or stone. And hopefully they haven't scraped it, because when you scrape it, it's different again. The technique really is to keep the blade moving in a line, and that line determines the amount of timber you take off. But also you've got to think about the width of that line has to stay the same as well. The other thing with these is when you get onto the flatter point, the blade has these two corners. They must always stay out of the timber, though your measurement. And when you run your finger across, or a ruler, from just below there across, that little bit you see is about the heaviest amount of timber you take off. And it's best to keep to that rule, because if you try and take too much off, the corners will go under and you'll lose control of your tool, but also you'll start damaging your tool. And you really don't want that to happen, really. So if you sort of just start the cut, and when you start the cut, if you look at that, the way that cut has happened, that tells me that I've gone the wrong way. That is going against the grain. And what we want to do is cut with the grain only. One of the things also we never had, whether you're Pacific Islander or Maori, is a saw basically for timber. Never developed one. The thing that we use is a splitting technique. Splitting technique is way better than a saw, because the consistency of the grain is kept, so you know exactly that the grain is perfectly straight. Every time you're going to cut it, it's going to be a consistent cut, and you won't have problems with it. This piece was cut out for me with a chainsaw, so I've got to really watch the grain. The idea is to completely keep an eye on your cut. See, it's not a lot of wood, you're only taking a small amount. Each time you strike, it's the same spot in a sense, or just ahead. And as you go down with your cut, you're slowly moving this backwards. See how that's doing that? That tells us that we're going against the grain. So the grain's on an unusual angle, so we need to do that. Let's begin to cut better. The idea is to be efficient with the tool, which doesn't necessarily mean hack whole lot of timber off. It's only that thick, not a lot. See that? That's going against the grain. Take that all the way down to right in this corner here. but not make a point through the middle. It needs to be just about a third of that flatness through the middle, and that'll give that a more rounded feel to it.
Can you talk a little bit about how your action is? That you're...
Oh yeah, true. So, start it down here. One of the most important things too is, like, if I'm working up here at the top, I'll lock this against my body. Every strike is from my wrist, so it's always hitting the same spot. As I move down, I'll move with it, and then I'll rest it on my leg, and my leg becomes that point. That allows me to strike the same spot and moving and creating a consistent cut. There's no point trying to use it like this because you've got absolutely no control and or even direction, and you're going to end up striking here, 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 all over the place. You've got to be having really good control over your tool. I'm working up the top, because it's quite long, you've got to lock it in right at the top. Because I start about here, lose my arm length, I've got to go right down and then move my arm down and keep your strike, but also keep it locked into the body. You can kind of see it's got a lot more of a curve there. Just to make that a bit consistent, I'll just take that bit off as well.